Alice was beginning to get very tired of sitting by her sister on the bank and of having nothing to do. This is the bank on the bank of the river, on the side of the river. Once or twice she had peeped into the book her sister was reading, but it had no pictures or conversations in it. And what is the use of a book, thought Alice, without pictures or conversations? So she was considering in her own mind, as well as she could, for the hot day made her feel very sleepy and stupid, whether the pleasure of making a daisy chain would be worth the trouble of getting up and picking the daisies, when suddenly a white rabbit with pink eyes ran close by her. A daisy is a type of flower. So when you put the flowers together, you get a daisy chain. There was nothing so very remarkable in that, nor did Alice think of it so very much out of the way to hear the rabbit say to itself, oh dear, I shall be late." When she thought it over afterwards, it occurred to her that she ought to have wondered at this. But at the time, it all seemed quite natural. But when the rabbit actually took a watch out of its waistcoat pocket and looked at it and then hurried on, Alice started to her feet, for it flashed across her mind that she had never before seen a rabbit with either a waistcoat pocket or a watch to take out of it. And burning with curiosity, she ran across the field after it, and fortunately was just in time to see it pop down a large rabbit hole under the hedge. The hedge is like a bush, it's like a small plant. In another moment, down went Alice after it, never once considering how in the world she was to get out again. The rabbit hole went straight on like a tunnel for some way, and then dipped suddenly down, so suddenly that Alice had not a moment to think about stopping herself before she found herself falling down a very deep well. To dip is to go under, to drop under, and a well is where we have water. This is where you get water from in the ground in a well. Either the well was very deep or she fell very slowly, for she had plenty of time as she went down to look about her and to wonder what was going to happen next. First, she tried to look down and make out what she was coming to, but it was too dark to see anything. Then she looked at the sides of the well and noticed they were filled with cupboards and bookshelves. Here and there she saw maps and pictures hung upon pegs. She took down a jar from one of the shelves as she passed. It was labelled orange marmalade, but to her great disappointment, it was empty. She did not like to drop the jar for fear of killing somebody underneath, so managed to put it into the cupboards as she fell past it. Hear the pronunciation of cupboards, you don't hear the b. Cupboards. Sorry, the p. You don't hear the p. Cupboards, no. Just cupboards. Well, thought Alice to herself, after such a fall as this, I shall think nothing of tumbling downstairs. Tumbling is another word for falling. When you tumble down, you fall down the stairs, tumbling down. Ba, 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 ba. How brave they'll all think me at home. Why, I wouldn't say anything about it, even if I fell off the top of the house, which is very likely true. Down, down, down. Would the fall never come to an end? I wonder how many miles I've fallen by this time, she said aloud. I must be getting somewhere near the center of the earth. Let me see. That would be 4,000 miles down, I think. For you see, Alice had learnt several things of this sort in her lessons in the schoolroom. And though this was not the very good opportunity for showing off her knowledge, as there was no one to listen to her, still it was good practice to say it over. Yes, that's about the right distance. But then I wondered with latitude, but then I wonder what latitude or longitude I've got to. Alice had no idea what latitude was or longitude either. This is latitude and longitude is with the map. So when you're usually looking at a map, you've got the latitude and the longitude. So it's like the north to the south and then to the east to the west. But thought they were nice, grand words to say. Grand as in important, complicated, sophisticated. Presently she began again. I wonder, so like I think, I wonder if I shall fall right through the earth. We're seeing a lot of shall here, no? I shall. In British English, it's like I will. We used to say I shall. I wonder if I will fall. I will. It's old English. This is an old book. I wonder if I shall fall right through the earth. How funny it'll seem to come out among the people that walk with their heads downward. The antipathies. I don't know what that means. What are the antipathies? A deep-seated feeling of aversion. So not liking something. Hostility. There you go. The antipathies. I think she was rather glad. Glad is like happy in English. She was rather glad that there was no one listening this time, as it didn't sound right. It didn't sound at all the right word. But I shall have to ask them what the name of the country is, you know. Please, ma'am. That's madame. Please, ma'am, like a title, Mr., Mrs., ma'am. Please, ma'am, is this New Zealand or Australia? And she tried to curtsy as she spoke. Curtsy is like a salute, but it's a female version of the salute, or like a man bows down and a woman and a girl curtsies. So she kind of like does a little, she kind of drops her legs down and curtsies. Fancy curtsying as you're falling through the air. Do you think you could manage it? Pretty difficult. And what an ignorant little girl she'll think me for asking. No, it will never do to ask. Perhaps I shall see it written up somewhere. Down, down, down. There was nothing else to do, so Alice soon began talking again. Dinar missed me very much tonight, I should think. Dinar was the cat. You hear this Dinar will, instead of saying Dinar will, she'll just kind of, she's put it together. Dinar missed me very much tonight. I don't know why this is with the dash in it, I should think. I hope they'll remember her saucer of milk at tea time. Dinar, my friend, my dear, my love, it's an affectionate term, my dear. I wish you were down here with me. There are no mice in the air, I'm afraid, but you might catch a bat. And that's very like a mouse, you know. But do cats eat bats? I wonder. As I think to myself. So she's still falling. It's quite amazing. She's falling, and she's not getting anywhere. And here Alice began to get rather sleepy and went on saying to herself in a dreamy sort of way, do cats eat bats? Do cats eat bats? And sometimes do bats eat cats? For you see, As she couldn't answer either question, it didn't much matter which way she put it. She felt that she was dozing off. Dozing off. It's like getting sleepy, falling asleep, to doze off. And had just begun to dream that she was walking hand in hand with Dina and saying herself very earnestly, "Now, Dina, tell me the truth. Did you ever eat a bat?" When suddenly, thump, thump, down she came upon a heap of sticks and dry leaves, and the fall was over. Earnestly is a good word, isn't it? Earnestly, with sincere, like honestly, earnestly. Serious, solemnly again, seriously. Seriously in that case, no? Solemn, earnest. Alice was not a bit hurt, and she jumped up to her feet in a moment. She looked up, but it was all dark overhead. Before her was another long passage, and the white rabbit was still in sight, hurrying down it. There was not a moment to be lost. Away went Alice like the wind, and was just in time to hear her. It was just in time to hear it say, as it turned the corner, "Oh, my ears and whiskers, how late it's getting!" And she was close behind it when she turned the corner. But the rabbit was no longer to be seen. She found herself in a long, low hall, which was lit up by a row of lamps hanging from the roof. There were doors all around the hall, but they were all locked. And when Alice had been all the way down one side and all the other, trying every door, she walked sadly down the middle, wondering how she was ever to get out again. Suddenly she came upon a three-legged table, all made of solid glass. Glass as in like glass where you like a window made of glass. There was nothing on it except a tiny golden key. And Alice's first thought was that it might belong to one of the doors of the hall. A hall is like the hall in Harry Potter where they all have their food. It's a big room. But alas is kind of an old term. It's an exclamation. It's archaic, old, very old. Used to express grief or pity or concern. Alas, my funds has. But alas, either the locks were too large or the key was too small. But at any rate, it would not open any of them. However, on the second time round, she came upon a low curtain she had not noticed before. Behind it was a very little door, about 15 inches high. She tried the little golden key in the lock, and to her great delight, it fitted. Delight, happiness, delighted. It fitted. Alice opened the door and found that it led to a small passage, not much larger than a rat hole. She knelt down and looked along the passage into the loveliest garden you ever saw. How she longed to get out of that dark hall and wander about among those beds of bright flowers and those cool fountains. But she could never even get her head through the doorway. And even if my head would go through, thought poor Alice, it would be of very little use without my shoulders. Oh, how I wish I could shut up like a telescope. You know, the telescopes, they push them together and you could become small. I think I could if only I knew how to begin. For you see, so many out of the way things had happened lately that Alice had begun to think that very few things indeed were really impossible. There seemed to be no use in waiting by the little door. So she went back to the table, half hoping she might find another key on it, or at any rate, a book of rules for shutting people up like telescopes. This time she found a little bottle on it, which certainly was not here before, said Alice. And round the neck of the bottle was a paper label with the words, "Drink me," beautifully printed on it in large letters. It was all very well to say, "Drink me," but the wise little Alice was not going to do that in a hurry. Wise, intelligent, savia, savio, having experience, knowledge, and good judgment. You're wise. In a hurry, in a rush. She's not gonna do that. Move or act with great haste. No, no. I'll look first, she said, and see whether it's marked poison or not. Poison. Venom. For she had read several nice little histories about children who had got burnt and eaten up by wild beasts and other unpleasant things, all because they would not remember the simple rules their friends had taught them, such as that a red-hot poker will burn you if you hold it too long. This is a poker is what they used to, like they mark the cows. It's not the poker, the game. A metal rod with a handle used for prodding and stirring an open fire. This is what you play with the fire, a poker. A metal with metal. Burn, you're gonna quemar, so to get burned, to burn, be on fire. Such as that a red hot poker will burn you if you hold it too long, and that if you ever cut your finger very deeply with a knife, it usually bleeds. And she had never forgotten that if you drink much from a bottle marked poison, it is almost certain to disagree with you sooner or later. However, this bottle was not marked poison, so Alice ventured to taste it, and finding it very nice, it had in fact a sort of mixed flavour of cherry tart, custard, pineapple, roast turkey, toffee, and hot buttered toast. She very soon finished it off. What a curious feeling, said Alice. I must be shutting up more like a telescope. This is not to shut up, like to be quiet, it's to close, to shut. And so it was indeed. She was now only 10 inches high, and her face brightened up at the thought that she was now the right size for going through the little door into that lovely garden. First, however, she waited for a few minutes to see if she was going to shrink any further. She felt a little nervous about this, for it might end, said Alice to herself, in my going out altogether like a candle. I wonder what I should be like then. And she tried to fancy what the flame of a candle is like after the candle is blown out. For she could not remember ever having seen such a thing. A candle, una vela, not vela, candle. After a while, finding that nothing more happened, she decided on going into the garden at once. But alas for poor Alice! When she got to the door, she found she had forgotten the little golden key. And when she went back to the table for it, she found she could not possibly reach it. She could see it quite plainly through the glass, and she tried her best to climb up one of the legs of the table. But it was too slippery. Slippery as in difficult to hold firmly and stand on because it is smooth, wet, or slimy. Slippery. And when she had tired herself out with trying, the poor little thing sat down and cried. "Oh, come, there's no use in crying like that," said Alice to herself rather sharply. "I advise you to leave off this minute." She generally gave herself very good advice, though she very seldom followed it. Seldom is the old, you don't really use it very much, but not usually, seldom. And sometimes she scolded herself so severely as to bring tears into her eyes. Scolded, to like tell off, rebuke angrily. Naughty, you're very naughty. Alice, you're so naughty. Why are you doing this? To scold. And once she remembered trying to box her own ears for having cheated herself in a game of croquet she was playing against herself. For this curious child was very fond of pretending to be two people. To be fond of. Fond is to be interested, to like something. I'm fond of it. I like it. I'm fond of it. Croquet is a typical game it's an old kind of game that not very common. With a ball. It's got a ball and like a bat. Anyway. But it's no use now, thought poor Alice, to pretend to be two people. Why, there's hardly enough of me left to make one respectable person. Soon her eye fell on a little glass box that was lying under the table. She opened it and found in it a very small cake, on which the words "Eat me" were beautifully marked in currants. What currants? Oh yeah, currants as in fruit. Amazing, yeah. "Well, I'll eat it," said Alice. "And if it makes me grow larger, I can reach the key, and if it makes me grow smaller, I can creep under the door. So either way, I'll get into the garden, and I don't care which happens." She ate a little bit and said anxiously to herself, "Which way? Which way?" holding her hands on the top of her head to feel which way it was growing. And she was quite surprised to find that she remained the same size. To be sure, this generally happens when one eats cake. This generally happens when one eats cake. But Alice had got so much into the way it was expecting nothing but out of the way things to happen, that it seemed quite dull and stupid for life to go on in the common way. So she set to work and very soon finished off the cake. This is interesting. So Spark Notes is basically really good if you're studying at school still literature, Spark Notes already has basically notes um, on every book available. So let's just see here, chapter 1, analysis. Yeah, let's see what this says. This could be interesting. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland begins with. Can you all see that? Let's make this bigger. Alice's Adventures in Wonderland begins with Alice dozing off. We said that sleeping. That's a good one. Dozing off. Write it down. You should get your pen. Dozing off. What does dozing off mean? Dozing off. It means to fall asleep. It's a good one. As her sister reads to her, anticipating the strange and nonsensical events that occur throughout the book. As her sister reads, Alice nods off. That's another one, to sleep, nods off. Alice nods off into a dreamlike state. Nod off. So I would write this down, see, and write those words down. In which she seems to catch sight of a fully dressed white rabbit capable of speaking English. Even when she enters Wonderland, she experiences phenomena that depart from the conventional rules of the real world. The plunge into the rabbit hole represents a plunge into deep sleep. There you go. There's the analysis. The plunge, so the dropping into the rabbit hole represents a plunge into deep sleep. Like when you go into a deep sleep, it's kind of when we sleep, we don't have the same rules, conventional rules of the real world. Her dreams create a fully formed world that constantly shifts and transforms with its own unique logic. The slow fall imitates the shift from dozing off to deep sleep, beginning with Alice's idle daydreaming and ending with her firmly placed in the dream world. Alice slowly acclimates to the dream world, but does not let go of the established logic of the waking world. She marvels that after this fall, she would think nothing of falling off the top of her house, much less down the stairs, even though the narrator reminds us that both falls would likely kill her. So she's in the dream world, yet she's still thinking. I mean, that's what happens in dreams. You know, we dream, and some part of the dream is like real and logical, and some of it is just completely nuts. Alice runs away from the Victorian world of her sister because she feels unfulfilled. The Victorian is like the old English system. But she quickly discovers that Wonderland will not fulfill any of her desires. Wonderland thwarts her expectations at every turn. Thwarts. That's a good one. To prevent. Thwart. The rabbit represents this motive of frustrated desire. Interesting, right? She's always trying to catch the rabbit, but she can't. It's desire, isn't it? We always want more. We always want more and more and more. His antics inspire Alice to follow him down the hole and into the Wonderland, but the rabbit, constantly stays one step ahead of her. Led on by curiosity, Alice follows the elusive rabbit even though she does not know what she will do once she catches him. She pursues him out of pure curiosity, but she believes that catching him will give her some new knowledge or satisfaction. Even when the outcome is unknown, the act of chasing implies that a desired goal exists. So she wants something. It's not really clear what she wants, and she doesn't know what she'll do with it when she wants, but damn, she wants something, that's for sure. Alice cannot enter the garden even though she wants to, and her desire to enter the garden represents the feelings of nostalgia that accompany growing up. Okay. Carol dramatizes the frustrations that occur with growing older, as Alice finds herself either too small or too large to fit through the passageway into the garden. Yeah, I suppose so. Like children are, oh, I'm too young to go to, do this, but I'm too big to do that. I understand that. After drinking the potion, Alice shrinks and cannot reach the key on the table. The helplessness that comes with her exaggeratedly small size represents the feelings of insignificance of childhood. The growth spurt caused by the cake in chapter 2 represents the awkward bodily transformations that come with puberty. Alice's growth allows her the means to fulfill her destiny, but literally reminds her that she is growing away from the pleasures of childhood. The idolized garden is now off limits to Alice, who can no more fit through the passageway than an infant could travel back to the safety and security of the womb. The womb being where you have a baby, where the woman has a baby. That's where the baby grows, in the womb. So yeah, Spark Notes. It's a massive cheat. Instead of having to think for yourself, you can just go to Spark Notes, and some very, very smart people have really thought about this book a lot longer than I have, I'll be honest, a lot longer than you have. And so that's the beauty of the internet, isn't it? That we can go and find the book in its original copy for free, and then I can go and find the analysis and the evaluation for free online. Who does not love the internet? It's amazing.
Learning English superiorly. We're gonna learn English quick.